Ethan Ward was the kind of man whose name made people whisper in boardrooms and freeze in hallways. At 34, he was already a billionaire, CEO of Ward Enterprises, and one of the youngest tycoons in New York. But wealth had done something strange to him. It had built a wall around his heart. The smile that once came so easily in his 20s was now buried beneath layers of cold logic, strict schedules, and emotionless perfection. Love? He didn't believe in it anymore. He had tried it once, with a woman who only loved his money, and when she left, she took his warmth with her. Since then, Ethan became a machine in human skin. Every morning began at 5, every deal ended in profit, and every evening ended in silence. But fate had a strange way of knocking when least expected. One evening, his best friend and personal assistant, Lucas, entered his office with a grin that could light up the gray room. "Boss, I've done it," Lucas said, holding an envelope. Ethan didn't even look up from his laptop. "If it's about another acquisition, send it to legal." Lucas smirked. "Not an acquisition, a blind date." Ethan's fingers froze over the keyboard. He slowly raised his eyes, cold and sharp. "You're joking." "Not this time," Lucas said, unbothered. "It's your last one. You've cancelled the last 3. Come on, Ethan. You promised your sister you'd try one more before the year ends." Ethan sighed, leaning back. "Lucas, I don't have time to play emotional roulette with strangers." "Then think of it as a business meeting," Lucas said quickly. "You meet her, talk for 15 minutes, and if you're bored, you leave. No harm done." Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose. His schedule was tight. For a second, the armor around Ethan cracked. "I'll try," he said quietly before hanging up. The night was cold, the kind of biting chill that crept into your bones. Snow fell in soft, slow flakes as his black Bentley pulled up to the restaurant. Inside, this patience thinner, but something in Lucas's confident tone made him give in. "Fine," he muttered. "One last blind date." And so, it was set, Friday evening at a small Italian restaurant downtown, one that Ethan would never have chosen himself. He almost forgot about it until that very evening when his sister, Lila, called him. "You're going, right?" she asked sweetly. "I made you promise." "Don't embarrass me again, Ethan." "You sound like Mom," he said dryly, putting on his coat. "Good. Then listen to me like you used to." Lila's voice softened. "Just, don't go looking for perfection this time. Go as a person, not a CEO." The warm light flickered over tables dressed in white linen. He was early, of course. Ethan was never late. He sat near the window, scrolling through emails until he heard a soft voice. "Mr. Ward?" He looked up, and for the first time in years, time stopped. Standing before him was a young woman in a simple blue dress, her hair tied back loosely, her eyes bright and nervous. She wasn't glamorous like the women who usually chased him. There was something refreshingly real about her. "You must be Evelyn," Ethan said, standing up politely. "Yes," she smiled shyly. "Sorry I'm late. The train stopped for almost 20 minutes. "No problem," he replied, gesturing for her to sit. They began with small talk, her job, his company, though she seemed only vaguely aware of how big it was, and their favorite food. Ethan was surprised by how easy it felt. She laughed easily, listened intently, and when she talked about her work as a school art teacher, her eyes glowed with warmth. "Kids can be difficult sometimes," she admitted, "but when they create something beautiful, it feels like magic. You should see their faces." Ethan found himself smiling. "You sound like you love what you do." "I do," she said softly. "It's not about money, it's about meaning." That line hit him like a quiet thunder. Money. Meaning. 2 worlds he had long thought could never coexist. As dinner went on, he noticed things about her, the way she stirred her coffee 3 times before sipping, the way she tilted her head when thinking, the way she spoke to the waiter with kindness. When dessert came, Ethan realized something strange: he hadn't checked his phone once in 2 hours. For the first time in years, he felt human again. But he didn't show it. When she excused herself to make a quick call, Lucas's message buzzed on his phone. "How's it going, Romeo?" Ethan smirked faintly and replied, "Better than expected." Yet, as Evelyn returned, something changed. Her smile was smaller, her voice quieter. "Is everything okay?" he asked. She hesitated. My mom's in the hospital again. She's been sick for a while." "I didn't mean to bring that up." "No, it's fine," Ethan said, his tone softening. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Thanks," she said, blinking away a tear. "It's been hard, but I believe everything happens for a reason." Her resilience, her quiet courage, it disarmed him completely. And when they finally stood outside, she buttoned her coat and looked up at him with that same gentle warmth. "I had a nice evening," she said. "That I'm sure you have 100 better things to do, but thank you for showing up." Ethan looked at her for a long second. "No," he said honestly. "I think this was the best thing I've done in a while." Her cheeks turned pink. "Well, good night, Mr. Ward." The days after that snowy evening were unlike any Ethan had known in years. The man who once measured time in stock prices and deadlines now found himself checking his phone for one name: Evelyn. He'd told himself it was curiosity, maybe politeness, but deep down, it was something far warmer. He called her the next day, and they spoke for hours, not about business or success, but about simple things: favorite books, the smell of rain, memories from childhood. She had this uncanny way of making silence comfortable, as if even the quiet between words meant something. Over the next few weeks, their meetings became regular: coffee on Sundays, walks through Central Park, sometimes just sitting together by the frozen lake, saying nothing but feeling everything. For the first time, Ethan was learning what peace felt like. But even peace can hide storms beneath its surface. One evening, after a long meeting, Ethan drove to the small art center where Evelyn volunteered. He wanted to surprise her. But as he walked in, he saw her through the glass window, sitting with a group of children, helping them paint. Her laughter filled the air, her smile was radiant, but then he noticed something else. A small oxygen tank beside her chair. His breath caught. Later that night, as they sat on a park bench, he asked softly, "Evelyn, what's the oxygen tank for?" She froze, the color draining from her face. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she looked up at the stars and whispered, "I was born with a heart condition. It's gotten worse lately. The doctors said I might not have much time left." The words hit Ethan like a silent hammer. The air around him vanished. "How long?" he asked quietly. She smiled faintly. "They said a year, maybe 2. But I don't count days, I make them count." Ethan's world spun. For years, he had built walls to avoid pain, and now that he finally let someone in, life was threatening to take her away. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Because I didn't want pity," she said softly. "I wanted you to see me for who I am, not what's wrong with me." He looked at her then, really looked, and saw not sickness, but strength. The kind of courage money could never buy. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse, staring at the skyline, realizing how empty his empire felt without her laughter in it. He had spent his life building wealth, but she had taught him something greater: love wasn't about possession, it was about presence. The next morning, he cancelled all his meetings and showed up at Evelyn's art class with coffee and fresh flowers. "You're supposed to be running an empire," she teased. "Not today," he said with a smile. "Today I'm running after something more important." From that day, Ethan changed. He started visiting her mother at the hospital.